Hi, my name is Lauren, and I'm 34 years old. I'm a high school English teacher, a coffee enthusiast, and, most importantly, the mother of the strongest 12-year-old girl I know. Her name is Bella, and she's my whole world. Ever since her father and I divorced 5 years ago, it's just been the two of us. My ex-husband, Mark, moved across the country for his job shortly after we split. He sends child support regularly and calls once in a while, but when it comes to day-to-day parenting, it's been all me. I've worked double shifts, canceled plans, skipped sleep, and poured my heart into raising Bella with love and stability. She's kind, clever, and far more emotionally mature than most kids her age. In many ways, she's had to be. Our life hasn't been easy, but we've built a rhythm together. I take care of her, and she grounds me. We read books together on Sunday mornings. We try a new recipe every Friday night. We laugh at our inside jokes and even have our own made-up words for things. For the first time in years, things finally felt okay. Except for one thing, my family. My relationship with my parents, David and Margaret, has always been complicated. They live about 2 hours away from us in a beautiful house near the woods, a quiet, scenic place you'd see on a postcard. They built their retirement dream home there. A cozy cabin-style house with a long wooden staircase, a garden my mother obsesses over, and a living room that still smells like lemon polish. From the outside, they look like loving grandparents. And truthfully, they adore Bella, in their own way. She loves visiting them, helping Grandma bake cookies, listening to Grandpa's stories from when he was a firefighter, feeding the neighbors' chickens. But beneath that picture-perfect surface, there's a history I can't ignore. My father has always been cold, analytical, and obsessed with control. My mother, on the other hand, is a master of criticism disguised as concern. I spent my childhood feeling like nothing I did was good enough. I wasn't smart enough, obedient enough, neat enough. And then there's my younger brother Ethan, the golden child, a successful orthopedic surgeon who can do no wrong in their eyes. I could cure cancer, and they'd still ask if Ethan helped me. Even now, at 34, I sometimes find myself biting my tongue or shrinking inward when I'm around them. It's a strange feeling, being a capable adult who still feels like a scolded teenager in her parents' presence. And yet, for Bella's sake, I've kept a connection with them. I wanted her to know her grandparents and her uncle. I wanted her to feel part of a bigger family. So, despite everything, I allowed regular visits, supervised, short, and always with clear instructions. And for the most part, things went fine. Until the weekend that changed everything. It started with an opportunity, an invitation to attend a national education conference in Chicago. My principal had personally recommended me to present. It was a chance to grow professionally and maybe even qualify for a department head position. It was the kind of break I couldn't afford to pass up. But to take it, I had to leave Bella with my family for the weekend. 3 days. Just 3 days. And I told myself it would be fine. But I had no idea that this small decision, something that seemed so ordinary at the time, would become the start of the worst weekend of my life. The Friday morning of the conference arrived with a gray sky and the smell of early spring rain. I packed Bella's overnight bag with care. Warm clothes, her allergy medicine, her favorite puzzle book, and the soft lavender blanket she never slept without. She sat on the edge of her bed, watching me with a grin on her face. "It's just 3 days, Mom," she said, like she was the adult and I was the anxious child. "I'll be fine." "I know," I replied with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Just remember to take your meds in the morning, and don't let Grandpa sneak you extra dessert." Bella giggled. "You worry too much." She wasn't wrong. But there was something about leaving her this time that gnawed at me. I had left her with my parents before for a night or two, and everything had gone smoothly enough. But now Ethan had decided, last minute, that he was going to spend the weekend there too. He and his wife, Jenna, were taking a break, and he needed time away to clear his head. Typical Ethan, always dramatic, always taking center stage. His presence changed everything. He had a way of dominating the atmosphere, especially around my parents. When Ethan was around, my opinions didn't matter. My rules didn't apply. And I knew, deep down, that even if I left a list of instructions carved into stone, he'd still do things his own way. When we pulled into my parents' gravel driveway, Bella's eyes lit up. She loved the place, the birdsong, the giant oak trees, the dogwood blossoms just starting to peek through. I parked and helped her out of the car. My mother, Margaret, stepped onto the porch with her usual no-nonsense expression. "That jacket's too light," she said immediately. "Didn't you check the forecast?" "She has sweaters packed," I said evenly, already biting my tongue. "Well, I've laid out some proper clothes for her anyway," she replied, as if that was the end of the discussion. Bella gave me a little side-eye smirk that said, "Don't worry, Mom. I can handle Grandma." David, my father, came out next. He greeted Bella warmly, but barely gave me a nod. "We were thinking of cleaning out the attic this weekend," he said, more to himself than to me. "Could use an extra pair of hands." "She's 12, Dad," I said. "She's capable," he responded curtly. Ethan arrived minutes later, pulling up in his shiny car like he was some celebrity. He swept Bella into a dramatic hug. "There's my favorite niece. Ready for some quality time with your favorite uncle?" "Hi, Uncle Ethan," Bella laughed. "Drive safe, Lauren," he added, barely glancing at me. Before I left, I pulled my mother aside in the kitchen. "Mom, if Bella gets upset or homesick, please let her call me, even if it's late." Margaret sighed. "Lauren, we've raised children before. Successfully, I might add." I ignored the jab. "And she's had some pain in her right arm from soccer. There's ibuprofen in her toiletry bag. If it gets worse." "She'll be fine," she interrupted, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "We're not as fragile as your generation, dear." I looked through the living room window, where Bella was already helping David unpack boxes near the stairs. Her little ponytail bounced as she walked. She looked happy. Safe. Still, when I hugged her goodbye, I held her just a second longer than usual. "Call me tonight, okay?" I whispered. "I will. Love you, Mom." "I love you more." I drove away, watching her wave in the rearview mirror. Sandwiched between my expressionless parents and my smug brother, she smiled at me. And I had no idea that would be the last smile I'd see on her face for days. Saturday morning began like any other for Bella at my parents' place. According to what she later told me, she woke up early, helped Grandma Margaret crack eggs for pancakes, and even tried to impress Grandpa David by offering to sweep the front porch. Ethan, of course, was already playing the charming uncle, making jokes, offering to teach her chess, and hinting that he might let her test drive his car when she was 16. It was all part of his performance, the one he reserved for family weekends, where he showed just enough attention to make himself look good without taking any real responsibility. The accident happened around mid-morning. Bella had been helping Margaret carry folded laundry upstairs. It was nothing out of the ordinary, just a stack of towels and some bedding. But as she climbed the narrow wooden staircase, she tripped. One of the rugs had folded slightly at the edge, and her foot caught it. She told me later that she didn't even have time to scream. She just fell, hard. Her body tumbled down 6 wooden steps, landing awkwardly on her right arm. There was a sickening crack, followed by blinding pain. Bella lay crumpled at the bottom of the staircase, gasping, crying, clutching her arm. And my family? They didn't call 911. They didn't even call me. Margaret came rushing in, followed by David and Ethan. Bella said she was sobbing and repeating, "It hurts, it really hurts. I think it's broken." But instead of panic or concern, she was met with disbelief and impatience. "You're fine," David said gruffly, crouching down to look at her arm. "It's probably just sprained." Margaret's response? "Well, that's what happens when you don't watch where you're going." And Ethan, the doctor, looked at her swollen arm and said, "You've got a strong pain reaction, Bella. It might just be a bruise." Kids exaggerate these things all the time. Bella begged for them to call me. She asked if she could lie down. But David shook his head. "There's work to be done. You can't just lie around feeling sorry for yourself." And then, this part still turns my stomach, they handed her a dust rag and asked her to help wipe the baseboards to keep her moving. With one visibly broken arm, my 12-year-old daughter was forced to do housework for 2 hours while holding back tears of pain. She told them again and again, "It hurts too much. Please let me stop." But they didn't care. Margaret accused her of being lazy. David snapped that she needed to toughen up. Ethan, the medical expert, simply nodded and said, "Keeping it moving will help prevent stiffness." They gave her 2 over-the-counter ibuprofen and told her to stop whining. Meanwhile, I was in Chicago, completely unaware. I was texting, calling, getting no replies. At 9 p.m., I called 3 times in a row. No answer. At 10:15, I left a voicemail on Ethan's phone. No reply. By 10:30, I was pacing in my hotel room with a cold weight in my chest. I didn't know it then, but Bella was lying on a couch with an arm that was swollen, black and blue, and pulsing with every heartbeat. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't move. And she couldn't reach me because they had taken her phone away. She lay there, staring at the dark ceiling of that perfect cabin, wondering why no one believed her. Why the people who were supposed to protect her didn't. By Sunday morning, my nerves were shot. I hadn't heard from Bella since Friday. Every call had gone to voicemail. Every text remained unanswered. I told myself it was probably bad reception, or maybe she'd just been too busy having fun. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I skipped the final panel of the conference, packed my things in record time. I told the organizers I had a family emergency and hit the road, heart pounding the entire 3-hour drive back to Minnesota. I must have played out 50 different worst-case scenarios in my mind, everything from the absurd to the catastrophic. But nothing prepared me for what I actually found. As I pulled into my parents' gravel driveway, I noticed something odd right away. All 3 cars were there. David's SUV, Margaret's sedan, and Ethan's fancy sports car. I parked beside them and waited for someone to come outside. No one did. I opened the front door and walked in without knocking. It was still, technically, my childhood home. Inside, I was met with the smell of fresh brewed coffee and lemon polish, and the sight of my parents and Ethan casually sitting around the living room coffee table, playing Scrabble. They all looked up in unison, surprised. "Oh," Margaret said, blinking. "We weren't expecting you until tonight." "I've been calling for 2 days," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "Where's Bella?" "She's resting," Ethan said, shrugging. "She had a little tumble yesterday. Nothing serious." Nothing serious. Those 2 words nearly made me lose it. I didn't wait for permission. I turned and strode down the hallway to the guest bedroom. My parents and Ethan followed behind, their voices overlapping with casual reassurances. She just needed to lie down for a bit. She was a little fussy yesterday, so we gave her something for the pain. It's just a mild sprain. And then I opened the door. Bella was lying on the bed, her body curled slightly, her face pale and pinched. Her right arm was propped up on pillows and wrapped loosely in a towel. It was swollen to nearly twice its normal size, the skin mottled with bruises so deep they looked purple-black. She opened her eyes when she saw me, and her lip trembled. "Mom." I rushed to her side. "Sweetheart, what happened?" I asked, brushing the hair from her face. "Tell me everything." Through shaky breaths and tearful pauses, she told me. About the fall. The pain. How she begged them to help. How they made her do chores with her broken arm. How they took her phone and ignored her tears. How they said she was being dramatic. By the time she was done speaking, my hands were shaking. I turned to face my family, standing clustered in the doorway, still trying to act like none of this was a big deal. "You made her do housework with a broken arm?" "She only fell down a few stairs," David said flatly. "She was still talking, still moving," Ethan added. "It didn't look serious." "She told you it was broken," I snapped. "She cries over hangnails, Lauren," Margaret muttered. I didn't say another word. I carefully gathered Bella in my arms, shocked by how light she felt, or maybe it was the adrenaline dulling my senses. I carried her straight to my car, ignoring their defensive chatter and sudden offers to come along. "She needs a hospital," I said without looking back. "And none of you are coming with us." The moment I shut the car door behind us, Bella exhaled a trembling breath. "I didn't think you'd come," she whispered. I looked at her through the rearview mirror. "Of course I came, baby. I'll always come." And then I drove, fast but careful, toward the nearest emergency room, praying that I wasn't too late. The emergency room was surprisingly quiet for a Sunday afternoon. As soon as I carried Bella through the sliding doors, a nurse rushed over. One look at her arm, and we were whisked straight into a treatment room. A kind-faced doctor named Dr. Rivera came in within minutes, took one glance at Bella's injury, and ordered immediate x-rays and pain medication. "She's been in this condition for how long?" she asked gently but firmly. "Since yesterday morning," I said, my voice shaking. "She fell down the stairs. Her arm's been untreated for over 24 hours. Dr. Rivera's expression darkened. "We'll do everything we can, but delaying treatment this long can increase the risk of complications." My stomach twisted. When the x-rays came back, Dr. Rivera returned, holding the images in her hand. "It's a displaced radial fracture," she said, pointing to a sharp, unmistakable break across Bella's forearm. "The bone has shifted significantly. We're also concerned about soft tissue pressure. We need to do emergency surgery to realign the bone and stabilize it with pins or a plate." Bella whimpered beside me. I held her hand tightly. "She'll be under full anesthesia," Dr. Rivera continued. "We'll manage her pain carefully. But I want to be clear, this could have been far less severe if treated immediately." I nodded, fighting back tears. "I understand. Do whatever it takes." Bella was prepped for surgery within the hour. I kissed her forehead before she was wheeled away and whispered, "I'll be here when you wake up. I promise." Just as I stepped out of the prep room, I saw them, David, Margaret, and Ethan, standing in the hospital hallway like they had any right to be there. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly. "We wanted to see how she was doing," Margaret replied, her voice suddenly soft, almost motherly. "We didn't think it would be this serious." "She was crying in pain for hours," I snapped. "You ignored her. You made her scrub floors with a broken arm." "You're blowing this out of proportion, Lauren," Ethan said, folding his arms. "It's not like it was a compound fracture. Kids are resilient." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so the nurses wouldn't hear me scream. "You're a doctor, Ethan. You looked at that arm and decided to hand her a dust rag." "She didn't look that bad," he replied, defensive. "There wasn't bruising yet." "You think that excuses you?" I hissed. "You should have known better. You all should have." "She's dramatic like you," David muttered. "You always turned every scrape into a crisis. And you always turned every crisis into an excuse to feel superior," I shot back. Bella didn't need a lecture. She needed medical care. She needed her mother. "We're her family, too," Margaret said, taking a step forward. "Not anymore," I said flatly. "You lost that right the moment you decided dinner plans were more important than her well-being." Margaret's mouth opened in protest. "You don't mean that." "I do." My voice was steel. "I trusted you. And you failed her. You minimized her pain. You silenced her. You betrayed her. And me." Ethan rolled his eyes. "You're acting like we beat her or something. Accidents happen." I stared at him, trembling. "An accident is a fall. Neglect is what followed. You made her suffer for hours to preserve your pride. That's not an accident, it's cruelty." Silence fell between us, like a heavy curtain. "If we leave now," David said stiffly, "don't expect us to come back." "Good," I said without hesitation. "That's exactly what I want." They stood frozen for a moment, unsure how to react to a daughter who wasn't shrinking anymore. Then they turned and walked away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. Bella's surgery lasted over 2 hours. The orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Patel, met me afterward in the consultation room with a calm but serious expression. "We realigned the fracture and inserted 2 titanium pins to hold the bone in place," he explained. "There was significant tissue swelling and signs of strain from prolonged activity after the injury, but we were able to stabilize everything." "How long will it take to heal?" I asked. She'll need to wear a cast for at least 6 weeks, he said. Then we'll begin physical therapy. Children heal quickly, but the delay in treatment has increased the risk of stiffness and nerve sensitivity. We'll monitor it closely. I thanked him, my voice catching. You probably saved her future. He nodded kindly. You got her here just in time. When I entered the recovery room, Bella's small frame was curled in the bed, her arm wrapped in a thick, bright blue cast, elevated with support. She was still groggy but smiled when she saw me. You're still here, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere, I said, brushing her hair from her forehead. You're safe now. She blinked slowly. Grandma said I was being dramatic. Uncle Ethan too. They didn't believe me. My chest ached. I believe you, Bella. I always will. That night, I sat in the uncomfortable hospital recliner, unable to sleep. My mind kept circling one truth. I had trusted the wrong people. And now I needed to do more than just protect Bella emotionally. I needed to protect her legally, too. The next day, after checking in with Bella's nurses, I called a family attorney named Patricia Reyes, a referral from a friend at school. I explained everything: the injury, the delay in care, the denial of communication, the emotional abuse. Patricia didn't hesitate. This is medical neglect, she said. You're well within your rights to restrict their access to Bella and to pursue a formal no-contact order if necessary. I'm not sure if I want to go that far yet, I admitted. But I need them out of our lives. For real this time. Then we'll do it the smart way, she said. Send legal letters with clear boundaries and make it official. Together, we drafted the letters that afternoon. To David and Margaret, I wrote plainly, due to your actions and inaction that caused harm to my daughter, I am severing contact. You are not to communicate with Bella in any form. Do not attempt to visit our home or contact her school. If you violate these boundaries, legal consequences will follow. To Ethan, the letter was even firmer. As a licensed medical professional, your failure to recognize a clear orthopedic emergency is inexcusable. Your dismissiveness caused unnecessary pain and delayed medical treatment. You are to have no further contact with my daughter or with me. Patricia sent the letters via certified mail. I also changed both our phone numbers, updated our emergency contacts at Bella's school, and informed the administration of what had happened. Back at the hospital, Bella's recovery was progressing. Nurses commented on her bravery. She charmed them with her jokes and even requested markers to decorate her cast. But the emotional wound was slower to heal. One night, as I tucked her in, she whispered, "They didn't even say sorry." "I know," I said softly. "And they probably never will." "Does that mean they don't care?" I looked into her tired eyes. "No. It means they don't know how to admit they were wrong. And that's not your fault." Bella nodded and turned her head toward the window, her cast cradled in a pillow. "I'm glad we left." "So am I," I said. "We're going to build something better. Just you and me." And for the first time in a long while, I believed that. 6 weeks passed. Bella's arm healed faster than I expected, but not without effort. She worked hard in physical therapy, her tiny frame hiding a will of steel. Every time she squeezed a stress ball or practiced lifting a water bottle, I saw it, her quiet determination to reclaim her strength. By the time the cast came off, she was back to using her arm with confidence. The doctors were optimistic. With a little more stretching and monitored activity, her therapist said, she'll make a full recovery. But the physical part was never my biggest concern. What stayed with Bella, what stayed with both of us, were the invisible wounds. The betrayal, the coldness, the realization that the people we thought would protect her didn't. We kept our distance from David, Margaret, and Ethan. After the legal letters went out, they didn't try to contact us directly, but that didn't stop them from trying through others. I got messages from old family friends asking why I was being so harsh. My mother even sent a handwritten card to Bella's school, cheerful, apologetic in tone, but still avoiding any mention of what had happened. Bella took one look at it and handed it back to me. "They still don't get it," she said flatly. "No, they don't," I agreed. "And they probably never will." I let her decide whether to keep the card or throw it away. She didn't hesitate. As time passed, we found comfort in our new normal. My friend Melissa helped us create weekend traditions, Friday night movie marathons with pizza and ice cream, and pancake Sundays where toppings were mandatory. My neighbor Tom offered to walk our dog when I was busy. Even Mark, my ex, began checking in more often. He FaceTimed with Bella twice a week and surprised her with a trip to the Science Museum during his next visit. I should have been around more, he admitted to me one evening. What happened, it shook me. I know, I said quietly. It shook me too. He looked down, then up. I'll do better. For her. And, to his credit, he did. The biggest change, though, was in Bella. One evening as we walked home from a bookstore, her newly healed arms swinging gently at her side, she stopped under a streetlight and looked up at me. Mom, she said, I think I learned more from them not being in our lives than I ever did when they were. I tilted my head. What do you mean? She thought for a moment, then said, I learned what kind of person I don't want to be. Someone who doesn't listen. Someone who makes others feel small just to feel important. Her words took the breath from my lungs. I crouched down and hugged her right there on the sidewalk. You're already the kind of person I admire most, Bella. Strong, kind, honest, and never afraid to speak the truth. She smiled softly. Like you. That night, as I tucked her into bed, she traced the faint scar on her arm. It doesn't scare me anymore. I'm proud of you, I whispered, for healing, for forgiving, and for remembering. We no longer defined family by blood or obligation. We defined it by love, honesty, and showing up. Always showing up. And for the first time, I realized that walking away from the people who hurt us wasn't the end of our story. It was the beginning. The beginning of peace. The beginning of boundaries. The beginning of our life on our terms. Have you ever had to walk away from people you once trusted, just to protect your peace or your child? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found the strength to put yourself or your family first. If this story moved you, give it a like. Subscribe for more powerful, true life stories every week. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to hear. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Thank you for watching. Your story matters. Your healing matters. You matter.